What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Scotty Talks NBA Mondays. We are not live today. As you can see, this is a recorded episode, so you guys will actually be seeing this on Tuesday. Not a problem. Everything will still be relevant. The NBA playoffs actually start tomorrow, Tuesday evening, so it actually might line up, perfectly for you if you're checking this out right before you get into some NBA action Tuesday night with the play-in tournament. Was supposed to be a special show. We will still get the show in together. I was going to have a very special guest in Brock Landis on the show, as well as my main man, Dylan Davis. You guys know him from our DSM media group. Speaking of, be sure to go check out that Twitch page. It is posted on me and Dylan's Twitter pages at DylanJD98 and at Scotty Drowned. You guys know where to find me on Twitter and Instagram. And that's exactly where you'll find our Twitch page. Be sure to subscribe to the DSM Media YouTube channel as well. We got a bunch of special content, any special guests we have on between our couple shows that we have between me and Dylan. We get all the content up there, and we'll be doing special giveaways, special prizes all throughout basketball season, football season, baseball season, hockey season, all seasons. So be sure to subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter so you can stay in the loop with all of that. As you guys know, this show is brought to you by Heat Ratio Sports. Be sure, if you're not already, subscribe to that YouTube channel, and be sure to give Heat Ratio Sports a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And as you know, be sure to follow my sports page at ST Philly Sports 1. I know I'm sending you guys all over the place, but I promise you the content is worth it. And that's what we're here for. We're here to discuss sports. We're here to bring the content, and that's how you're going to find it, guys. So be sure to follow all those pages. Subscribe. That is what it's all about. As I was saying, I did have a special show lined up with Brock Landis and my buddy Dylan Davis. Dylan's kind of busy moving. Brock was a little busy this weekend, so we're going to get it in sometime midweek here, most likely Wednesday after 7 p.m. And we actually might go live with this. So keep an eye out for that promotion. We will be promoting that on Wednesday if that's the case. But I would like to go live with those guys, get some intake from the audience, and of course, just share my special guests with my audience. So that's what it's all about. I'm going to kind of get into the stuff that we were going to get in on the actual, the show with those guys. And we'll kind of follow up, get their takes on Wednesday, whenever that show happens. We'll get their takes at that point. You guys will already know mine. I do want to get some content out here. The playoffs, it's exciting. I'm excited. So I want to share what I got for you guys already. You can hear my voice first, and then we'll get some other takes later on this week before the actual playoffs get started as well. So let's dive in, guys. I wanted to, dive in, talk about some playoff predictions. Obviously, we're going to get into the Philadelphia 76ers. They finally locked up that 1 seed. That's what it's all about, and that's what I've been wanting the most the last 2 weeks. So we're there. And, of course, I'm actually going to go through the regular season accolades, different stuff. So we're going to go through MVP, Rookie of the Year, Most Improved Player, Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year. So all your regular, individual accolades. We'll also get into some different stuff. So, the best regular season team. We're going to, basically gift out who was the best team this regular season, who was the most consistent, who did it under the, different circumstances, under adversity. We're going to talk about that. And then we'll get into some surprising teams of the season, teams that blew our minds away, right? We didn't expect this. And then, some teams that were on the opposite end of the scale, is surprising, but in a bad way. So we'll talk about some of those surprise good and bad teams. And then, like I said, we'll get into some Sixers talk briefly. And then finally, the most intriguing play-in matchups, I'll get into that. And we'll end it off with the playoff predictions. I'll give you my finals predictions as well as Eastern and Western Conference finals. So let's dive in here, guys. I'm going to start with the MVP. I've been kind of voicing my opinion on this all over Twitter. Like I said, be sure to follow me on Twitter at Scotty Drown. That is where I'm most active. I'm always sharing my thoughts on what's going on in the sports world, especially in Philadelphia. But in this case, it's the NBA, and I've kind of shared my opinion. I'm sure anybody that keeps up with me probably knows where I'm going with this. MVP for me is Nikola Jokic, and this is me being totally objective, totally unbiased, trying not to be a homer here. Obviously, I want Joel Embiid to win it. Obviously, I think he somewhat deserves it, but the way that I end up, what I always keep on coming back to with this discussion of MVP is, if I was the Denver Nuggets fan, would I see a way where Joel Embiid could possibly beat out Jokic? Like, would I think, oh, you know, if Embiid wins it, then it's fair. It could go to either one. No. So I think if I was a Nuggets fan, the first thing I would point out is, one, Nikola Jokic has played 20 more games than Joel Embiid, right? So he's played literally every single game. I think he missed one game this season. I'm going to fact check this, but the last time I checked, he was 71 games. 71 games started out of 71 games played. But let me go ahead and just make sure here, because I do want to be on point for you guys. So Jokic played 72 games. So 72 games out of 72 games. Didn't miss a start. So you got to take that into account somewhat. Then you look at the numbers, right? So Jokic right now, the Nuggets have the 3rd seed in the West. I get that. You know, Embiid brought the Sixers up to the 1 seed, locked it in, has dominated in all the games that he's played. Let's be honest. But you're looking at Jokic with 26.4 points per game, 8.4 assists per game, and 10.9 rebounds per game. I can't look away from that. I can't look away from the fact that Jamal Murray was injured for the last 20 to 25 games, missed major time there. I can't look away from those things. I can't look away from the fact that he's played every single game. I get it. You know, people will argue that Joel's a better defender. They'll argue that he's more dominated. And if Joel played maybe 5 to 10 more games, I could probably put him over Jokic. You know, I could make the argument, but with what I'm looking at right now on paper, what I've seen all season, I can't put him over Jokic right now. Some other honorable mentions, as obviously I said, Joel Embiid would be my next guy, but some other honorable mentions, obviously Giannis, Steph Curry, been amazing. Chris Paul's name has been floating around a lot more recently, and rightfully so. He's got this Suns team turned completely around. It's obvious. He goes to these young teams, and they all of a sudden turn into playoff teams. You saw it with OKC. So let's not ignore the influence that Chris Paul brings to a team. You look at who Steph Curry is playing with on the Warriors to get them to the 8 seed without Klay Thompson, without James Wiseman. He has Andrew Wiggins, and maybe this is just Andrew Wiggins playing for a better organization, whatever the case may be. But this is something that needs to be talked about a little bit more as well, is that Andrew Wiggins is having a career year. And does that come from just playing beside Steph Curry, where you can get open looks, you get open driving lanes, because there's so much attention paid to Steph Curry. So, you know, let's not give all Andrew Wiggins' success, you know, credit to Steph Curry, but it's obviously made a difference. Let's be honest here. Dame Lillard's another guy right there. I mean, you look at the Portland Trailblazers, he always has them in it. He gives them a shot in every game. And then Giannis putting up similar, if not better, numbers this season than what he has put up in previous years, where he's won the MVP twice. So you could give it to Giannis every single year. Harden was another guy there. If he just played a little bit more game, he missed games at the wrong time of the season, because you could still put guys like KD and Joel Embiid in the conversation, because they didn't miss that many at the end of the season. I think it's just that recency bias when you're talking about Harden there. So let's move on. MVP, clearly, Nikola Jokic, the Joker. That's my MVP this year. It's decided for me. Obviously, there's no implications that are supposed to be made from the playoffs. So from here on out, Nikola Jokic is my MVP for the NBA regular season of 2020-2021. And once again, no ill will towards Joel Embiid. If he wins it, thank you, Lord. I'm happy, and I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm not going to complain about it. Let's be honest here. Rookie of the year. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, to be honest with you. Anthony Edwards is a candidate. Tyrese Halliburton was a candidate before he got injured. Still can't hold a candle to LaMelo Ball and the influence, the swagger, the personality that he brings to this young Hornets roster. He's turned this team into a team that knows what it feels like to win. He's built a winning culture in a sense there. And a little bit, right before the end of the season there, they were actually picking up steam, picking up, motivation, picking up some consistency. And then, boom, he breaks his wrist, and it kind of drops him down in the standings. They're still in the play-in tournament, but you look at this guy, man, 15.7 points per game. People wondered if he was going to be able to score in the NBA. 16 points a game in his first season. Let's stop worrying about that. He's going to learn how to shoot better. He's going to, get a feel of driving to the rim better. But let's talk about his passing ability. 6.2 assists a game as a rookie. 6 rebounds a game as a rookie. And don't get it twisted on the defensive end. 1.6 steals a game as a rookie. This guy gets it. Michael Jordan grabbed this guy for a reason. And we all knew it going into the draft night that LaMelo Ball was most likely the best player in that draft. He's proven that right, and he is. In all seriousness, I'm so impressed by this guy. And, I saw it mentioned earlier, he's clearly the best of the Ball brothers. And that's no shun to Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball has really picked up his game since going to New Orleans. It's nothing to diss him. LaMelo Ball is just one of those guys is going to be a perennial all-star. He's going to be an all-NBA player. It's just the sky is the limit for this guy. So let's wait and see on it. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. LaMelo Ball is the rookie of the year, period. Most improved player. This was an easy decision, but once you have that first guy out of the decision, similar to LaMelo Ball, I guess, Julius Randle. Let me simplify it there. It's Julius Randle. He's the most improved player of the year by a mile. Next in the next wind, you have guys like Jeremy Grant, Michael Porter Jr., who's really stepped up for the Nuggets. And don't get this twisted. I really love those two players. Jeremy Grant has turned into a bona fide scorer for the Detroit Pistons. He's a go-to guy for them. They've really just got to build some talent around him to make it easier for him. Michael Porter Jr., we talked about this on a couple shows ago, man. I was comparing this guy to KD. I heard him compared to KD first by Richard Jefferson. Want to give the rightful credit there on the comparison. But I see it. The shooting ability, the size, the handle, the swag, and he's going to get better at driving and scoring. He's going to get better at defense because he's an athletic freak. But let's be real here. Julius Randle, we were talking about MVPs earlier. This guy's in the top 10 of MVP candidates this year. And if you think differently, then you're just a hater, honestly. And, I'm a Sixers fan. I have nothing, to love about the Knicks to be biased there. It's Julius Randle. He's the most improved player, and he's a top 10 MVP candidate. He's an all-NBA player, all-star. He's averaging 24.2 points a game, 10.3 rebounds a game. The Knicks are 42-31. They have the 4th seed in the East. They've locked it up, so they're going to be playing the Hawks in the first round. We'll get into them later. They're one of my surprisingly good teams. They're the 4th seed. Now, a lot of it goes to Tom Thibodeau and giving them an identity with defense. Giving them an identity with defense. But where do they get the offense from? It's all Julius Randle. He makes that team go. He is the closer. You've seen, improvements from guys like RJ Barrett, sure. But Julius Randle is the guy there. I've seen him, hit game winners this season. He's been clutch. I saw it against the Sixers, him and Tobias going back and forth. And, we luckily just got the upper hand in that situation, but he was going at it with the Sixers. I saw it on all ends of the court. I saw it in all facets of the game. He's improved his jump shot significantly. He's an excellent three-point shooter at this point in his career. Once again, New York, they should feel really good about what they got going on there. And if they can just build on that this summer, I think they're probably a fringe second-round team this year. Build on that this summer, and they got something really good going on there. Quickly, the rookie. You got Reggie Bullock there. You got shooters surrounding them. You got the young guys in there with Obi Toppin, Mitchell Robinson. So, I mean, R.J. Barrett's second-year man. He's going to be in his third year. You only imagine he's going to get better. Shot 40% from three this year. I mean, come on. This team is looking up, and you got to give a lot of that credit to the most improved player of the year, Julius Randle. That's it. It's Julius Randle, period. Defensive player of the year. This one is a very tough one this year. And I think we'll see that. It's going to be mixed voting in my eyes. A lot of people – it's going to come down to what I talked about, what I'm about to talk about with this category, this accolade. I'm giving it to Ben Simmons. I know Jazz fans are like rolling their eyes. They're saying that I'm a hater of Rudy Gobert. It's not that. I appreciate Rudy Gobert's defensive presence. Defense is obviously not the weakness of his game. And he's a perennial defensive player of the year candidate, and he should be all defensive first team. I agree. And if he wins it, like, there's no real argument to him not winning it. It's just that I like Ben Simmons as a defender more. He can guard all five positions. He can guard guards. He guards big men. Dropped 42 on Rudy Gobert's head just for an example of where Rudy Gobert's been outed before. That's besides the point. But Ben Simmons guards all five positions, 1.6 steals a game. It's just a preference. It's a preference. That's all it is. It's a preference of style of defense. What I would consider harder to do is perimeter defense, which Ben does a lot of. Rudy Gobert, he's got size, he's got length, and he holds down the middle of the unit for the Utah Jazz. If he wins it, like I said, I'm not going to argue against that. He's a perennial all-defensive first-teamer, perennial defensive player of the year candidate. I can't argue against that. Obviously, there were some other guys out there, the Miles Turners of the world. Not this year, buddy. Giannis, I haven't seen enough from him on the defensive end, to where he's doing similar things to Ben Simmons. So no, it's Ben Simmons for me. I've seen it on several occasions of him guarding the best player in the most clutch moments this season, and him coming up big. Let's be honest. Ben Simmons is the defensive player of the year. Moving on to coach of the year. This one is a really hard one. I talked about the last one being really hard. This one is a really hard one. There's several worthy candidates. If I could give it to coach of the year, I wish I could do it like by conference. But I have like 4 coaches that I would probably be okay with giving coach of the year to, and it's probably more than that in all reality. So who I'm going to say is it's going to be Monty Williams. You got the Phoenix Suns completely turned around, the second seed in the West. Mind you, a lot of that is Chris Paul and his leadership. I don't want that to go unheard of, but I got to give Monty Williams some credit here. He stayed steady, got to the 50-win mark, 51-21 on the season. That's ridiculous for the Suns, a year out of trying to get in by the play-in tournament. You know what I mean? So kudos to Monty Williams. My other candidates, obviously, I talked about Tom Thibodeau, 41-31 as the Knicks head coach, 42-31, I guess. What more can you say? Took this team from, a bottom feeder last year. And I'm sorry, they are 41-31. I was getting that confused. He took this team that was a bottom feeder last year, once again in the NBA lottery last year, not looking up. People were downing the signing of Julius Randle. And Tom Thibodeau came in and gave this team an identity, gave them something, to play for, brought in the right veterans that he had history with, guys like Taj Gibson, Derrick Rose. But Tom Thibodeau, I mean, he's in that conversation. Who pictured the Knicks being here at this point in the season in the playoffs as a 4th seed with home court advantage in the first round. Who pictured that? I mean, I did not see that coming. Some other guys I'll just mention quickly. Doc Rivers, obviously, 49-23 with the Sixers, took them from the 6th seed to the 1st seed. This team got swept in the first round by Boston last year as the 6th seed. And we were worried. We thought we were stuck with Al Horford. We thought we were stuck, in purgatory, basically, with our cap situation. Brett Brown was a failure last year, right? You bring in Doc Rivers, you bring in his coaching staff, Sam Cassell, and these guys get this Sixers team functioning. You bring in Daryl Morey. Let's give some credit to Daryl Morey, Elton Brand, coming together, getting Al Horford off of this team, bringing in Danny Green, getting Josh Richardson off this team, bringing in Seth Curry. Got to give some credit there. But Doc Rivers is the one that orchestrated it all on the court, held these players accountable. Tobias is having arguably his best season. Ben Simmons is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Matisse Thybulle is a top 5 Defensive Player of the Year candidate and an all-NBA defender. Shake Milton is playing better. We got Tyrese Maxey, a very bright young point guard that's learning. And then, of course, we have Joel Embiid playing MVP caliber basketball. Let's be honest here. Doc Rivers deserves to be mentioned in that conversation. Quinn Snyder of the Utah Jazz. We just talked about Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, bunch of those guys over there. Joe Ingles. They get it from everywhere on that team. Very well-rounded team. They do all the fundamentals right. They shoot the 3 well, and they play lockdown defense. Got to give some credit to the coaching staff there and Quinn Snyder. But, like I said, I'm going to go with Monty Williams here. First-year coach. Well, no, he's not a first-year coach. I believe this is his 2nd season with the Suns. But first year with Chris Paul, with an actual roster. Mikal Bridges took some big steps this year, really helping. And DeAndre Ayton got a full season under his belt, after missing some time in his first year. To see Monty Williams, put it all together with this Phoenix Suns team, it was great to see, and they've been playing some really great basketball. I'm happy to see Devin Booker in the playoffs playing some meaningful basketball. So shout out to Monty Williams. That's my coach of the year for this season. I also wanted to shout out Nate McMillan. That was one that was kind of a sleeper pick. He took over the Hawks about halfway through the season. Has these guys as the 5 seed when they had a little, they had no life there for a while. So I did want to shout out Nate McMillan in Atlanta. 6th man of the year. This is an easy one here. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Jordan Clarkson, easy, 17.4 points per game, 2.3 assists per game. He's got the green light. He shoots the 3 ball at an elite clip. 3 3-pointers made a game. He's part of the reason that the Jazz lead the league in 3-pointers in the games. Jordan Clarkson has came in since Donovan Mitchell went down with the right ankle sprain and has played really well. He's given them the scoring addition that they need. I know a lot of people, have hopped on the Joe Ingles train. This guy has started most of the games this season, so I can't really, put him in the category with Jordan Clarkson, who is that surefire igniter off the bench. Regular season team, I'm going to stick with Utah, man. They deserve a little bit of credit. They deserve a little bit of, praise during this session of accolades and season records and talking about awards. The Jazz were the best team in the NBA the entire season. Even when Donovan Mitchell went down for a couple of games there, they were able to hold on to that number 1 seed and lock it in. They are the 1 seed in the Western Conference. The Western Conference is stacked. You look at the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Suns I mentioned. The Lakers are all the way down at the 7th seed. The Trailblazers, the Mavericks, they are stacked in the Western Conference, and they were able to hold on to that 1 seed all season. They got it very early on in the season, and they locked it in. The Western Conference goes through Utah. They're the best team in the NBA for the regular season. They were able to hit that 52-win mark, and you got to give them some credit for it. A plus 9.2 point differential for the season. Mitchell and Mike Conley missed at least 20 games this season, but a plus 9.2 point difference. That's incredible. And you're talking about winning 52 games. This is good stuff. The next category I had was the good surprising teams. We've talked about them already. I'm not going to spend too much time here because I've already given out praise to these teams. The Phoenix Suns, we talked about Monty Williams, the turnaround, basically going from the play-in tournament to basically a home court advantage in the Western Conference playoffs picture. So shout out to the Suns there, 51-21. Added CP3 and Jay Crowder over the offseason there. And they've been able to take some major steps. Mikal Bridges, like I said, has taken some major steps in his career. And DeAndre Ayton is looking like a stud in the middle there. So shout out to the Phoenix Suns for being the big surprise in the NBA this year, second in the Western Conference. Another surprise, once again, the New York Knicks, number 4 seed in the East. Who expected them to be a higher seed than the Heat, the Boston Celtics, the Indiana Pacers? I mean, shit. Even the Atlanta Hawks, you probably would have picked over the Knicks coming into this season. So you got to give some credit to Tom Thibodeau, Julius Randle, the young guys they got there, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, Mitchell Robinson, Taj Gibson. Let's give some credit to the old guys, Reggie Bullock, Derrick Rose, 6th Man of the Year candidate. So shout out to the Knicks. Getting that 4 seed is huge for this team's future. You talk about building experience within your young guys. This is what they need, the playoff experience. It's about time, New York. I'm happy for my New York friends, fans. I'm happy for those guys. So shout out to the Knicks. We'll move on to bad surprises, right? You guys could probably guess one of the teams that I'm going to mention here. The Boston Celtics, 36-36, dude. Come on. You had the Celtics fans all on their high horse coming off that sweep of the Sixers last year. And you guys are going to be fighting to get even a playoff berth. They'll be lucky if they don't lose out in the play-in tournament. I'm not even joking, because I could see the Wizards beating them. You're looking at Russ and Bradley Beal, who are on a tear right now. Jaylen Brown just tore something in his knee, so he's out for the rest of the season. So what are the Celtics plan? What's their plan? They have nobody in the middle. Jason Tatum can't do everything by himself. Kemba's a shell of himself, and Marcus Smart can't fill it up, in the scoring column like he should. You're looking at Evan Fournier, who just really hasn't fit in with that team. And then, like I said, who's in the middle? Robert Williams, Tristan Thompson. If they end up pulling out the 8th seed and playing the Sixers, who swept them this regular season, not looking good for Boston. They're in a bit of a situation here. How do they get better? Nobody wants Kemba Walker. Nobody wants him. How do they get better without giving up Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum? What do they do? Big disappointment there from Danny Ainge this season, and I couldn't be happier. I hate the Celtics, so good. I'm glad there's some shit. We're looking at the Pelicans, New Orleans Pelicans. Maybe this may not be a disappointment for some people, but I thought the Pelicans could at least get into the play-in tournament. They couldn't even get a play-in tournament berth. They couldn't even get up to the 10th best record in the Western Conference. And I think that's disappointing when you have a star the caliber of Zion Williamson with a second star behind him like a Brandon Ingram. You mentioned guys like Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart. They had some young guys there. They also had Steven Adams. Eric Bledsoe is another guy that was there. And you just didn't see them take that step. Very, very bad on the defensive end, which, Stan Van Gundy does not stand for that, so I expect them to be better on that end next year. But just disappointed to not have Zion at least in the play-in tournament. I mean, show up. So that ends it for our accolades or our disappointments you could speak on. I had a really good time discussing those with you guys, and I know not everybody will agree with my picks. I think some of those are the consensus picks. So nobody's going to argue with LaMelo Ball. Nobody's going to argue with Julius Randle. I don't think anybody's really going to argue with Jordan Clarkson. I think those are given. They've proved themselves consistently throughout the entire season. Where you're going to see the arguments is going to be Jokic with that MVP, Ben Simmons with that Defensive Player of the Year, and then, like I said, that Head Coach of the Year is just a toss-up in reality. But I went with Monty Williams in that situation. So what we'll do, we'll move on to some Sixers talk. You know what time it is. Of course, we have to talk about it, right? Sixers, they locked up the 1 seed. First time in 20 years. First time since 2001 with Allen Iverson. Went to the finals against the Lakers, lost. First time in 20 years that the Sixers have locked up the number 1 seed. This is huge for Philadelphia. It's the first time since the Eagles locked up the 1 seed and made the NFC come through Philadelphia in 2017-18 season for the NFL. Obviously, when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. But shout out to the Eagles signing Ryan Kerrigan today. I thought that was really awesome, and I'm starting to get excited for this team again. But we'll keep that for Turf Talk later this week, right? No, Sixers talk. That 1 seed is bigger than anything that they could have asked for out of the regular season. You can't end it in a better scenario. You know, obviously, maybe it's Embiid doesn't miss as many games. Maybe Embiid locks up that MVP, whatever the case may be. There's no better finish than the 1 seed for your team. You're looking at a playoffs in the Eastern Conference that is going to have to go through Philadelphia. How big is that? You talk about the playoffs matchups. You're avoiding the Bucks and the Nets for the first 2 rounds. Worst case scenario, right? You at this point with who you'll play. Let's just say the Wizards do beat the Celtics. The Wizards get the 7 seed. Let's say the Celtics, Hornets, or Pacers get the 8 seed. I think the Sixers will sweep or gentlemen sweep any one of those 3 teams. And from there, who do you play after that? So you get a plethora of Celtics, Hornets, or Pacers in the first round. After that, you're looking at, in the second round, the winner of the 4 and 5 matchup between the Knicks and the Hawks. So you're talking about the Hornets, Celtics, Pacers, Knicks, Hawks, first 2 rounds. Yeah, I signed me up for that, and it's locked in. It's happening. So you talk about there's no cakewalk to the finals. I know that. There's no givens. Anything can happen. Injuries can happen. One team could come out and light the world on fire. We never know. But on paper, you know, you analyze this entire regular season. Who do you think has the best shot in the Eastern Conference? And rightfully so. They were the best team in the Eastern Conference. They had the best record. They deserved the number 1 seed. So you talk about that. It is huge for the Sixers, and they need to go ahead and you know, capitalize on it. You're going to have a Nets and Bucks, you know, second round matchup, most likely, unless the Bucks fall to the Heat, which I don't expect, but it could happen. So you look at even the Heat. I would love to, you know, we talk about it in Philly, of course. I don't want to play the Heat in the second round either. I'd rather play the Knicks or the Hawks. So you talk about the Heat. Yeah, I'll pass on that as well. So if they beat the Bucks and have to play the Nets, good luck to the Nets. Battle it out with those 2 tough teams, whichever one it may be. And then, of course, they have their first round matchup, which could end up being the Wizards, which is another tough backcourt. That'd be a fun one to watch as far as scoring. But, yeah, you look at the Sixers, they would finally see the Nets, Bucks. Let's even throw the Heat in there possibly in the Eastern Conference Finals. And you're looking at a team that just had to, you know, go through a grinded-out match in the second round. And you hope that the Sixers can capitalize on their, you know, weaker opponents and, you know, go ahead and get them out of the way within 4 to 5 games, both of those first 2 rounds, and make sure you're getting them starters enough rest, you know, more than what they could have imagined when going into the playoffs. So this means everything. It gives the Sixers a hell of a shot at making it to the Eastern Conference Finals and an even better shot at getting to the NBA Finals. I couldn't be happier. I'm praying for a parade on Broad Street. But we got to get it started, and we got to bring it home. Let's ride it out. I'm excited for these Sixers. So I did want to get into some rotation stuff. I was going to ask – I mentioned I was going to have Brock Dillon on the show today, but obviously they couldn't make it. We'll get him on later this week. I was going to ask them, you know, what have they seen out of the rotation, any surprises that they would expect? For me, to answer my own question, Will Maxey see meaningful minutes? Do I think he will? No, I don't think he will. I think Doc is kind of old school in that sense where he might just roll with what he knows. You know, Maxey's still a bit of a wild card, but he has proven a lot the last couple weeks and throughout the season. Excuse me. But Maxey, will he see meaningful minutes? I just don't see it. Now, do I think he should? Definitely, I think he should. There's part of me that believes he might bring more to the table than a George Hill, maybe even a Shake Milton, if I'm being completely honest. Shake has showed me nothing but inconsistencies. At least when Maxey comes on the floor, there's a change in the energy. It's almost like a feeling of youth and active and energetic. He brings a great energy onto the court. And I think Doc would be wise to get him some early playoff experience, especially in these first two rounds, where you're going to see a couple games where it might get out of hand. The Sixers might, take care of a team early. Get this guy some meaningful minutes early in the playoffs, and maybe we can see about him getting in against a team like Brooklyn for, even if it's just 5 minutes in that game, meaningful minutes. Those 5 minutes mean something. So that'll be interesting. Surprise cuts from the rotation. The only people I could imagine, you're going to have your obvious ones. So I think, obviously Korkmaz is going to kind of be eliminated from that rotation unless in matchup favors, we need some scoring one night. I definitely think that Shake's minutes could get cut a little bit. He's been playing a little bit better recently, but he's gone through these inconsistent patches throughout the season where you just don't know what you're going to get from this guy. Matisse Thybulle obviously is going to be in the rotation. Mike Scott, I expect to fall out of the rotation. And, Dwight Howard, I think he'll still get minutes, but he's going to lose a little bit of his minutes. You're going to see those staggered lineups with Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, one of them on the court at all times. You're going to see more staggering, more, lineups mixed together a little bit rather than those all 5 out, 5 in bench rotation. I cannot stand that shit. Who's the most important player to the Sixers run? Obviously, it's going to come down to Tobias, Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons. Some people will say Tobias. Doc Rivers has brought in something new out of Tobias, something we haven't seen in Philadelphia, the best version of Tobias. Ben Simmons, obviously, he's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. He makes the offense go. He's a facilitator. He gets guys open. Joel Embiid, obviously, our MVP candidate. We need him to stay healthy. He's a guy that can drop 30 a night, get you 12 rebounds, and he's even adding a couple assists this point in his career. Which one of these guys are the most important to a Sixers run? It's not an easy answer because, part of me wants to say Joel Embiid has to stay healthy or we don't have a chance. As long as we have Joel Embiid, we have a chance. And I think part of that is true. You have a chance. It significantly goes down if you lose Tobias or Ben and still have, Joel there. But you still have a chance. Tobias, didn't show up last playoffs, against Boston. We ended up getting swept. Joel played his heart out, but Tobias just was not there. Just didn't look like himself. Definitely need him to show up. Need the Tobias from this season to show up, the one that played for Doc in L.A., on the Clippers. But it's Ben Simmons, guys. And I know there's a ton of people that probably agree with me on that. But it's not for the same reasons that other people would say. I don't think Ben needs to go out of his way to score. I don't think he needs to do anything extra, take jump shots, take three-pointers, nothing like that. I just want to see an aggressive Ben. If Joel is taking a seat, you don't have that option, then it's time for you to be aggressive. Drive the lane. You don't have to put up dumb layups. You can do the passing out, to wide open shooters and Danny Green, Seth Curry. You'll have other guys out there, Shake, Tobias. You'll have guys waiting for those shots, of course, but I want to see him on the go, push the tempo, make these guys play you on defense. Yes, you're a great defender. Make them work on defense as well. Push the tempo, get easy dunks, get yourself easy buckets, get into the lane, get guys open. We need it all playoff spin. There can't be these games of, oh my gosh, what's going on with Ben? Is he having family issues? Is Ben sick? What's going on with Ben? it can't be that this season. And I don't mean that, oh, we're going to cancel Ben if he falls out due to family issues. I don't mean it like that. I mean, I need you to not play to where I'm even like guessing and stabbing at different ideas of what's wrong with you. Play like there's nothing wrong with you. Play like you're about to win an NBA championship. And that's why Ben Simmons is the most important player for this playoff run. It's not because of his defense. It's going to be hella important. Don't get it twisted. We're going against the Brooklyn Nets or the Milwaukee Bucks. We're going to need a top-notch defender for guys like Giannis, KD, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. We're going to need Ben Simmons. But it's on the other end of the court. It's not the shooting. It's not the three-point shooting. It's easy buckets. It's driving to the hole. It's playing aggressive. It's about facilitating, getting guys open, pushing the tempo. And I hope he does it all playoffs. I think that could really be a game changer. I think if he can turn it up to another notch in the postseason, it's going to make everybody's lives easier. It's going to make Joel's life easier. It's going to make Toby's life easier. It's going to make all the other guys' lives easier. Ben, bring this shit home, buddy. It's going to be relying heavily on you, Ben. And I'm behind you. I know you got it. We just got to see it consistently, man. But that's going to be it for my Sixers talk today. I'm going to keep it nice and short. We're really going to dive into the Sixers when I get Brock and Dylan on here with me. We're really, really going to dive into the Sixers heavy. So I don't want to, I don't want to pound the wall on it right now. We will talk about the Sixers matchup. We'll probably have a clearer idea of who the Sixers are going to play by Wednesday night. So definitely tune in for that episode. We'll get into some real Sixers talk. Now, let's just talk about, some of the playoff implications. And I got my nice graphic up here. As I said earlier, guys, if you're not following me on Twitter, give me a follow at Scotty Drowned. That's where you'll find nice, interesting stuff like this. I got a nice little, not a poll, but just, a Twitter, post here. I'm just asking for some comments, asking for you guys' thoughts on who's going to make that Western Conference Finals, who's going to make the Eastern Conference Finals, who's your NBA champion, who's going to play in the finals, in the championship. I want to hear you guys' thoughts, so be sure to go up to that post, give it a like, give it a retweet, share it out so we get more answers. And I will be sure to go over this actual Twitter post, read some of the answers on the next show here. And, of course, like I said, it will be live on Wednesday. So be sure to check that out and go comment on this post for sure. But I'm going to keep the graphic up here while we go through the next segment because we're going to finish out, just with some postseason talk, postseason predictions. First thing I wanted to get into was the play-in tournament. You see it there. So in the Western Conference, we have the 9 and 10 playing Memphis and San Antonio. And then we have the 7 and 8 playing with the LA Lakers and the Golden State Warriors. Steph versus Bron. We all know about that one already. And we have the 9 and 10 in the East in the play-in tournament. Indiana Pacers and the Charlotte Hornets. And we have the 7-8 in the Eastern Conference with the Boston Celtics and the Washington Wizards. So most intriguing play-in matchups. Obviously, we got 4 there. I'm even thinking, once I pick my winners here, who would I like to see play in the next play-in matchup, right? So to be frank here, let's just go through and we'll pick some wins. Obviously, the top 2 games are going to be the 7 and 8 matchups there. You see it, the Lakers and the Warriors, LeBron versus Steph. We've seen these guys match up in the finals 3 to 4 times. So what the hell's going on if we're watching them in the first weekend of playoff basketball, the first week of playoff basketball in the play-in tournament there. So that will be interesting to see. Part of me feels like the Lakers should just go ahead and take that L. I think I would rather play the Jazz, who will be, bringing back an injured Donovan Mitchell. He'll have to get acclimated with that team again. I know they're still playing really well, but I think I'd rather play them than a fully healthy Phoenix Suns team that has been balling this season. So yeah, if I'm the Lakers, I might, I never encourage losing on purpose because obviously you don't want to go to that next play-in game and have to, battle it out with either the Spurs or Memphis. But if I had to make my pick today, I would say the Lakers are going to win that as long as LeBron and AD are playing. Too much for Steph. Now, if Steph goes off for 50, I'm sorry, LA. It is what it is. Nobody else could stop him either. So don't be upset if you do lose this game. It's just the way Steph Curry's been playing. It's happening to everybody right now. But yeah, that's the matchup you want to see, right? And then, of course, we have the Boston Celtics and the Washington Wizards, which I mentioned earlier. Obviously I dislike the Celtics, but there is a chance that they could get knocked out of the playoffs before the playoffs start. I definitely have them losing to Washington in that first play-in game. I think Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook is going to be way too much for them. Excuse me. I think Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook is going to be way too much for Boston without Jaylen Brown, beat up Kemba Walker. Marcus Smart's been beat up all season. Nothing in the middle. Who's going to who's going to fill up the driving lanes, when Russell Westbrook's driving the lane, getting guys open. So I see Washington beating Boston in the first round, locking up that 7 seed. And I do see I see Indiana beating Charlotte. I think they just have played tougher down the stretch. They got more experience. You got guys like Karis LeVert, Sabonis on that team. Now, obviously, LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges has been playing really well for Charlotte. You got Terry Rozier there, Devontae Graham. They got some guys on Charlotte, but they're really young, and I see the Pacers taking advantage of that. And then I can see the Pacers knocking the Celtics out. I can see it, and I think the Pacers will end up being the Sixers' first-round matchup there. But I'm telling you, I'm rooting against the Celtics. I want them to get knocked out of the playoffs in the play-in tournament. Now, don't get it twisted. If they get that 8 seed, I would love to go ahead and sweep them in that first round. I would take great pleasure in that as well. But what better than to see the Celtics not actually make the playoffs a year removed from them, bragging up and down my timeline, all up in my face about sweeping the Sixers last year without Ben Simmons. Yeah, karma's a bitch, man. That's all I'm going to say about that. So the next thing we'll get into, we talked about the play-in tournament, which I've actually grown pretty excited for. I know I've been kind of negative about it. I still think it's kind of stupid after 72 games that you need to play in a tournament to make the playoffs after you already proved yourself for 72 games. It's a lot of games to, kind of get your play in and see what type of team you are. But ratings, money, it all has an effect in this. It all has a say in this. And I'm not going to hate on it. I'm not going to spend time hating on it. I think it's going to be good basketball at the end of the day. You pray guys like LeBron, Steph don't get injured in these type of games. Guys like Westbrook, Beal, Tatum, any of these guys, any of these well-known players in this play-in tournament, you just hope they don't get injured before the actual playoffs start. But, injuries come with the game. And at the end of the day, you're getting some really good basketball here. It's going to be really good entertainment. I mean, what better first – it's not even a first-round match. It's a play-in tournament, and you're getting the Lakers versus the Warriors. I mean, what better play-in matchup? So, yeah, as you heard, I got the Lakers and Warriors filling out the bottom seeds in the West. I got the Pacers and Washington filling out the bottom seeds in the East. So we move on from there. We'll get into the way too early playoff predictions. Obviously, we don't even know who's in from the play-in tournament. But like I said in my Twitter post here, it's never too early to have some fun. Let's share the predictions. We can reflect on them from each round, always reflect back, see what we originally picked, and see where we're at, once we get there. Eastern Conference Finals. It's harder than you think. So Sixers is easy for me. Sixers, they're going to take care of the Pacers, I would think, in, 4 or 5 games. The Knicks could take them to 6, maybe. I would expect 5 games against the Knicks. Atlanta could get hot for a game, maybe 5 games against Atlanta. I expect them to coast, as long as everybody stays healthy. Nothing crazy happens here. I think the Sixers are going to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I won't say easily because nothing's easy in the playoffs, but pretty handily they'll get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And, I'm going with the matchup everybody wants to see. It's the Nets and it's the Sixers. And if it wasn't the Nets and the Sixers, it would be the Nets and the Bucks, right? So you're getting best of both worlds because I got the Nets and the Bucks meeting up in the second round. I got the Nets taking care of the Bucks. It's an honest guess because I think either team could win that series. I really don't know. I think either team would be a really good matchup for the Sixers. I think it would be great basketball in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I think when you're looking at that Bucks and Nets, even if the Heat somehow beat the Bucks and it's Heat and Nets, that is a great series. And it's going to be tough for the Nets without anybody in the middle. What are they going to do with Bam Adebayo? Now, of course, they got Jimmy Butler. They got guys for him, but what are they going to do with Bam Adebayo against Miami Heat if that ends up being the case? And then, of course, Giannis is a whole different story from Bam Adebayo. So it's anybody's, if it's the Bucks and the Nets, good luck picking that matchup. But I'm going the Nets here. And I got a Sixers-Nets Eastern Conference Finals. It's what everybody wants to see. It's what everybody needs. It's what I need. I need to see it because I truly don't know who's going to win that series. I know everybody thinks it is the Nets. Everybody thinks that three-headed monster of Harden, Kyrie, and KD is unbeatable. But I'm here to tell you, nobody's ever been unbeatable in the history of the NBA. No team has ever been unbeatable. Even the Warriors, who won the 72 games, lost in the playoffs to LeBron and the Cavs. It happens, guys. This Nets team isn't going to sleepwalk to the NBA Finals. It's not going to happen. It's going to be a really tough, grueling matchup. I expect it to go seven games in those Eastern Conference Finals. And let me get back. Let me get to the Western Conference before I get to my NBA Finals predictions here. So the Western Conference Finals was way harder for me as far as picking the actual two teams, because you're looking at the roads. They can all end up very differently depending on who wins. You look at the West, right? So you're looking at the Lakers, who are going to basically have a chance to knock out either the Jazz, the #1 seed, or the Phoenix Suns, the #2 seed, in the first round of the playoffs as the 7 or 8 seed. And I do expect the Lakers to do so. I expect them, whoever they play, to win in the first round. I do not see LeBron getting knocked out in the play-in tournament or the first round. And one of those top 2 seeds are going to be gone in the first round. And that's crazy to think about, but it's going to happen. And so when you think about it that way, let's say the Lakers beat the Warriors. They get the 7th seed. They play Phoenix, knock Phoenix out. In this case, it would end up being probably the Lakers if they knock Phoenix out, probably the Lakers and the Clippers meeting up then. And then, of course, on the other side, you would have then the Utah Jazz against the Warriors, which I would take the Jazz in that series. And then the Jazz would play the winner of 3 and 6, which would be – well, no, the Jazz would actually play the winner of 4 and 5. So the Jazz would play – the Jazz would play the Mavericks or the Clippers. So then, it would be the Jazz and then the Clippers for me, because I do have the Clippers beating the Mavs. And then you would have the Lakers and the Nuggets, because I have the Nuggets beating the Trailblazers on the other side. And then so you have the Nuggets and the Lakers. Do I think the Lakers can beat the Nuggets? I do, especially without Jamal Murray. So, I'm going to go Lakers versus Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. The Lakers somehow do it from the 7th seed, and the Clippers actually get it done from the 4 seed. So you got a 4 versus 7 in the Western Conference Finals, which who would have thought? It's what the Western Conference Finals should have been last year, and we're going to get it this year, except this is a rejuvenated Clippers team, and I got these guys going to the finals. It was really hard for me to not have the Suns go to the finals. Now, if the Lakers end up getting the Jazz first round, like I said earlier in the show, I think the Lakers should prefer that. And if that knocks the Jazz out in the first, that changes a whole lot of things. So Phoenix is hard to go against. Jazz is hard to go against, but I would take the Clippers against the Jazz at this point. And that's just based off the basketball that I watch. I think Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, playoff P. We need to see playoff P this year, but I do think Kawhi has that next level in them, and they got embarrassed last year. You brought in guys like Rondo, brought in some veterans, Serge Ibaka, It's time to put up or shut up with the Clippers. And if they don't do anything in this postseason, what's the point of Kawhi Leonard signing back next year? That's a conversation for another day, right? So NBA Finals, I do have the LA Clippers versus Philadelphia 76ers. Going with my heart there with the Sixers and the Nets. Like I said, it's a matchup I can't predict in reality. I don't know what's going to go down in that series. I do think it would be a 7-game grueling series between these two teams. You got the Sixers, who are top 2 defensive team in the NBA, and then you got the Nets, who are probably the best offense in the NBA. Not by the numbers, obviously the Bucks are, but the Nets, let's be honest, when those 3 are playing, they're the best offense in the NBA. And I do have the Sixers squeaking it out. Defensive identity, defense wins championships. I'm not going to pick an NBA champion today. I know that'll surprise you guys, but I play by my own rules on Scotty Talks here. So I'm not gonna actually pick an NBA champion. I don't want to jinx my Sixers. I'm going to wait to see a little bit of playoff basketball before I go that far. But I do have a Sixers and Clippers NBA Finals here, guys. Like I said, today I wanted it to be an actually a quick show. It wasn't too quick here, but I did have a ton of fun. I'll take the graphic down here, close out with you guys. Guys, thank you for tuning in today. I do appreciate it. I hope you guys had fun hearing my conversation, kind of my takes on, the individual accolades, the NBA awards this year, and playoff predictions. I just let you know my entire thoughts on the entire NBA playoff picture, and I had a ton of fun doing it. And I hope you guys will check out the episode on Wednesday night. We'll be live. It'll be a little bit after 7. Once everybody gets clear, I get off work at 7. So once all that gets cleared up, we get that perfectly scheduled. We will be live on the Heat Ratios. Well, I don't know if we'll be able to use the Heat Ratio Sports channel because I know they do have shows on Wednesday. So we'll keep you involved with that. I'll keep you up to date. I will be updating via Twitter. Be sure to follow me at Scotty Drowned. But we may have to go live from the DSM media page. We'll figure all that out and let you guys know. But definitely check it out. We're going to get Brock Landis on here as well as Dylan Davis of the Daily Dose and DSM Media. And, of course, both of those guys from the Painted Lines. Shout out to the Painted Lines as well. That's going to be it for this show, guys. Clippers, Sixers, NBA Finals prediction. You got my MVP. You got my Coach of the Year. You got everything out of me this show. I'm happy to share my takes with you. Be sure to go find me on Twitter. Find that post. Give me your NBA champion. Give me your NBA Finals matchup. Give me your conference finals matchup. But before we are done here, be sure to go click the link to that DSM Media Twitch page. Get involved with our current giveaway. We're going to be doing a City Edition Joel Embiid t-shirt giveaway on the DSM Media page. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow on Twitch to get in on that giveaway, guys. That's going to be it for this show. Be sure to check out Heat Ratio Sports YouTube page as well. Hit that subscribe button. This show is presented by Heat Ratio Sports, of course. So shout out to my family over there. And that's going to be it for this show, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Scotty is out of here. Peace.